Hello, everybody. Russ Siegel here, and I'm looking forward to spending the next hour or so with you on how to create a profitable side gig. There are a lot of folks out there who enjoy what they do. They have a great job, but maybe you've caught the entrepreneurial bug. And unfortunately, the entrepreneurial bug is like a virus. It doesn't go away. It stays there. And sometimes it might lie dormant, but it never goes away. It's always there. And until you do something about it, that urge to act on that entrepreneurial bug is just never satisfied. So today I'm going to talk to you about ways to create something while you enjoy the benefits of your day job. First, let's talk a little bit about me. I'm a recovering corporate manager. I spent years working for other people, doing their bidding, managing, directing other folks. And I decided that the burnout just wasn't worth it, that it was time for me to strike out on my own and do something that I'd always wanted to do, start a small business. So I did. When I did that, I realized that someone should have warned me. Starting a business is a really tough undertaking. It's not all rainbows and unicorns like people tell you it is. It's a tough thing. One of the things that I try to communicate with folks today is that starting a business is by no means your ticket out of a tough financial situation. In fact, starting a business might get you into a tougher financial situation. But I really enjoyed my time as a small business owner. I got to work with my wife. I got to take my kids to work. I got to work with one of my best friends. And owning a small business was a lot of fun. And working with my wife, we like to say it was the best of times. It was the worst of times. But after that, I spent 11 years working with other small businesses, letting them take the problems and the headaches home while I just thought about how to help them improve their businesses. I really enjoyed that. I spent some time as an organizational development consultant. I've worked with a lot of organizations in how to build better boards of directors, hire top-level executives, build systems and processes into the business so that small business owners can make more money, work less, and have a more fulfilling life. Currently, I wear several hats. I'm a small business lender. I run a small lending organization that helps small businesses get capital when they can't get capital through traditional sources. I also spend a great deal of my time speaking and training, and most nights blogging. So today, I'm going to help you learn how to find, plan, and fund your side gig. You may already have an idea in mind. You may have something that you've already started. So I'm going to help you take it from your head to the paper to reality. We're going to figure out how to squeeze that business startup into everything else you have going on. You might have read things that tell you you sleep so many hours, you work so many hours, you've got another 72 hours a week to work on your business. Baloney. We're going to find out exactly how many hours a week you have to work on your business. We're also going to learn how to get the side gig off the ground and make it successful without getting in trouble with the boss. There's some really easy ways to get in trouble and lose that secure day job. We're going to help you avoid those. And I'm going to give you some resources to help out along the way. I've got some things that you might be interested in. So a little bit more about me. This is what I would rather be doing, either sitting on the beach or hiking in the beautiful mountains of Western North Carolina where I live. And I've found that a side gig is the way to get there. Once I left my small business, once I sold it, I found that I still had that bug. I still had that small business virus that I was carrying around in my system. I still wanted to be out there doing something, competing, improving myself, improving the lives of others, and doing something that completed me. Fortunately, at the time, I was working with a company that allowed me to do this, not on the sly, but right up front, they actually encouraged a side gig. So some of you may be in that boat, some of you may not be. But I found that the side gig was the way to have the best of both worlds. And I've been doing a side gig since 1999. I still enjoy what I do. I love what I do on a day-to-day basis, but I also spend about 70 days a year traveling and speaking. As I said, I spend most nights blogging. I write and I consult with small businesses. And all of that is my side gig. The side gig also provides a nice additional income that allows me to pursue things that I enjoy. So I want you to have that same ability. I want you to have that same pleasure. I've worked with over 400 businesses, and in fact, I just got off the phone this morning with a young lady who I must have said something right in a program where she attended, because she said I was dead on with my comments, and she too is starting a side gig. So here's what we're going to cover step by step. We're going to talk about finding the side gig. There is a way to narrow down exactly what it is you should be spending your time on, because you really do have a very limited amount of time with a side gig. I'm going to help you plan it. If you look over to the left of your screen, you'll see a couple of links. One says click here to download the business plan template. That is a free template that I have created. I'm going to give that to you as just for being on the webinar today, and use that. It's a way to get your ideas out of your head and onto paper. We're going to figure out how to fund the side gig, because you may have enough money to do it. Maybe you need to use your own money. Maybe you need to use someone else's money. There are alternative ways to fund a side gig. And the beauty of a side gig is that it generally should not require much funding. If you are building a brick and mortar business, if you're trying to rent a commercial space or acquire inventory, equipment, furniture, fixtures, those kinds of things, that takes a lot of money. Your side gig should not take a lot of money. In fact, most of the folks I talk with create a side gig from a hobby, which means you may already have most of what you need and won't have to buy it. We're going to talk about maximizing your time. I'm going to give you some time management tools and tips that you can use to get the most out of the limited amount of time you have, whether you're working on your business first thing in the morning, after work in the evening, after the kids have gone to bed, or sometime on the weekend. I'm also going to talk to you about outsourcing, because I use an outsourcer. I've used outsourcing platforms and outsourcing services. It's a great way to get things done. Spread yourself out so that you don't have to do everything. Of course, we're going to stay out of trouble with the boss. I'm going to give you lots of good information on making sure that you don't lose that security blanket that comes with a day job. And if you want your side gig to someday become your main gig, I'm going to talk to you about how to plan your escape. So sometime before we leave the webinar today, make sure that you go over on the left-hand side, click to download the business plan template. Make sure you get your copy of that. And also I've provided the full presentation as well as a download if you would like to download that. So let's talk about finding the side gig. When it comes right down to it, a business exists to create customers. There are folks out there who have all kinds of altruistic objectives, things that you want to do. Maybe you want to save the children, save the whales, save the trees, save the planet, put your kids through college. Whatever it is that is your long-term objective, you can't do those things until you create customers and start making money. Here's a real quick rule of thumb for you. If it makes you money, it's a business. If it costs you money, it's a hobby. And as a business, you create customers, and it doesn't matter what you do, you only sell two things. You sell a solution to a problem. In other words, you have to bring something to people that they either can't get otherwise, or something that they're unhappy with the alternatives, but you have to solve a problem. Now, most businesses spend way too much time talking about the drill bit and nowhere near enough time helping the customer drill the hole that they want. So let's stop talking about the things that we do and let's start talking in terms of what our customer gets. And when we do that, we're going to nail down a solution that we can bring to the market and bring to the world. When we do that, that's a huge seller. Now, if you can do that and create a good feeling, you've hit a home run. Some businesses only exist to create a good feeling. Disney does a remarkable job of this. If you've ever been to Disney and taken that full week-long vacation to Disney World in the summer heat of Central Florida, you know that it's not fun to stand in a 3-hour line to ride a 3-minute ride. Yet when you get home, the kids are happy, you're happy, you feel good about it. You feel good about all the thousands of dollars you spent to get down there and get back home. They've created a good feeling. It's all about the experience. The way to create a solution and a good feeling is to take what we love to do and what we're good at and put them together. Now, I love playing the guitar. Unfortunately, I only know 3 chords. It's the same 3 chords I learned when I was 17 years old. The good side of that is that I can play almost any country song out there. The bad part is that the older I get, the less I like country music. So I'm never going to make it to Music Row playing the guitar. I'm never going to fulfill my lifelong dream of becoming a major league relief pitcher. I haven't grown since I was 12 years old. So doing something that I love is not going to bring home the bacon. Passion is an overused word. You need passion for what you do. You need to love what you do. Loving what you do gets you out of bed in the morning. It's what keeps you going. But doing what you're good at is what keeps you in business. So if you can take something that you love and something you're good at, put those two things together, that's a home run. This is why so many side gigs start with a hobby. Dirty little secret here, folks. If you are going to create a business from a hobby, go and find a new hobby. If you don't, you're going to find that you hate the hobby that you started a business from. It's inevitable. If you love to bake and you turn that into a business, pretty soon you hate baking. If you love dog grooming, but you turn that into a business, pretty soon you're going to hate dog grooming. So figure out a way, well, not hate it, but hate it as a hobby. So figure out a way to create another hobby, another outlet for yourself, another way for you to enjoy your free time. So take inventory. What are the things that you really enjoy doing? What are the things that you're really good at? Put those two things together. That's going to help you more than anything create a direction. Now, once you've done those two things, take a look at the questions on the right. Is this going to be able to provide a solution to people's problems? Is this something that's needed in the market? Just because you love it and you're good at it doesn't mean people will buy it. So how do you turn those two things into a solution? And how do you turn those two things into a good feeling? Companies every day that you wouldn't even think of turn their solutions into good feelings. It's the plumber who puts on the booties before he walks through the house so that he doesn't muddy your floor. It's the contractor who cleans up after himself and vacuums all the sawdust, not leaving it for the homeowner. It's the roofer who goes outside and not only runs the magnet, but runs a metal detector and looks for the nails from the roof job that could have fallen off into the grass or onto the driveway. It's little things like that that create good feelings in companies that generally are not thought of as feel-good companies. So if you're starting a little massage therapy business on the side, how can you put these things together to solve a problem, create good feelings as something you're good at and something you love? As far as planning your side gig, everyone here has the same number of hours in a day. It's how we use them that matters. If you work 8 hours a day, you've not just lost the 8 hours a day. Add in your commute. When you get home, do you have things that you need to do? Fix dinner for the kids, do laundry, clean the house, get the kids to bed, take care of your own household bills, mow the grass, wash the car. Whatever those things are that you also do in addition to work, those are your non-job obligations. It could be coaching a ball team. It could be running a Bible study at your church, or meeting with a civic group on a regular basis. Take into consideration all the non-job obligations that you have. Add those to the unavailable time that you have. So rather than taking 5 p.m., your quitting time, to midnight or whenever you go to bed, that's not accurate. It may be 10:30 to 11 o'clock at night. I have a friend who wanted to write a book. He found that he could write about a page in 30 minutes. And he loved Jeopardy, but he hated Wheel of Fortune. So every night from 7 to 7:30 during Wheel of Fortune, he would write, knowing that Jeopardy was coming on at 7:30. So it gave him an incentive to buckle down, write for 30 solid minutes, and then he would be rewarded by watching Jeopardy. At the end of a year, he had over 350 pages for his book. So you can eat the elephant in small bites, even on the weekends and in the evenings, and in very small chunks of time. In planning your side gig, you're not just going to be planning for the time, but you also need to be thinking about the money you want to make. How much do you want to make? And how much do you need to make? It's better to sit down and write down some goals. What are your long-term goals for this business? If it's ultimately to turn your side gig into your main gig, then what you need to make needs to replace what you're earning now. So take your annual salary. If you earn benefits, if you have health, dental, vision, vacation time, all those goodies, it's a safe bet to take your salary and multiply it by 1.5. That's the amount of money you need your business to make so that it can replace the salary you have right now. That's the true cost of employment. If you don't earn benefits, or if you have a part-time job, take that pay, multiply it by 1.15. That should give you a pretty good look at what you would need to make to replace whatever pay you're receiving, minus the benefits. But whatever you do, be realistic. Be realistic. I've had people say, well, I'm going to start a little hot dog cart business, and I'm going to run this on Saturdays for lunch, and I'm going to make $200,000 a year. Well, unless you're selling gold-plated hot dogs, that's probably not realistic. So as you write down your goals, be very specific in what your goals are. Is it to buy a new car, take an extra week of vacation, buy Christmas gifts for the family, put your kids through college, be able to retire debt-free, pay off your house 10 years early? Whatever that goal is, be very, very specific, and then attach dollars to that goal. And of course, download the template. It's there is no one right way to write a business plan. But since I read business plans every day, I wrote this template in a way that I would want to read it. It's very easy, it's very clear, and it's very concise, but it's also very thorough. It's going to make sure that you thoroughly plan your business venture. Now, of course, there's an old saying that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Actually, failing to plan is not one of the top 3 reasons why businesses fail. The number one reason businesses fail is that the owner steals from himself or herself. It's called owner fraud. The reason it exists is unrealistic expectations and unrealistic goals. Business owners start a business and then they siphon cash off to meet their goals rather than making business success one of their top goals. So as long as you're very clear, very precise, and very realistic, the side gig could potentially be a pretty large financial gain for you, depending on what you do. Maybe you have your own money. and you can fund your side gig yourself. That's great. But if your money is earning 10% in a mutual fund and you can borrow the money at 5%, leave your money there. It may be best if you go out and look for some other sources of capital. But start with your budget. What does it take you and your family to live on a monthly basis? Let's look at this two ways. If your household budget right now exceeds your current income, take a look at what you can cut. First, get your financial house in order. What kinds of things can you cut? Maybe you can live without cable. Maybe you can go with $8 Netflix instead of a $100 cable bill. Whatever it is that you need to whittle out of your current budget, do that. But when you start with your own budget, you get to see not only what do you want to add to it, but what do you need to make up for any shortfalls that are there. When you also look at your budget in conjunction with your plans, your dreams, and your goals, how much more do you need to add to that? Keeping in mind that, hey, we live in America, the land of entrepreneurial opportunity, but we also live in the land of taxation, and anything you make is going to be taxed. So you have to plan for your taxes as well. Attach dollars to your dream. If your kid's college education is going to cost $20,000 a year, how quickly do you need to start accumulating that money? Can you crack open the piggy bank? Is there enough money in your house that or in your possession that you could turn into cash pretty quickly? And by quickly, I mean within 30 days. If your short-term assets are somewhere in the neighborhood of something that you could make work in 30 days, great. Keep in mind that if you need to borrow money, it's going to take far longer than 30 days to borrow money. Now, for you, this is a side gig, and I'm just going to tell you what other people have told me. I'm just going to lay it out there for you. People say to me all the time, this is just a little thing I'm doing on the side. It's nothing serious. Why does the bank or why does the lender want all this information about my taxes and all of my income? And why do they want to see how much I'm paying on my house payment? And why do they want a pint of blood? Well, if you're borrowing money to buy a car, for example, the dealership, the finance department knows what that car is worth right now. And by Blue Book value, they can tell you what that car is going to be worth in 5 years. In other words, they know what that car will likely be worth in 3 years if you stop making the payments. They also know that they can track that car down and they can take that car back. They'll recover some of the value on that car. It's a pretty quick decision if you have decent credit. From the time you drive on the lot to the time you drive off with a new car could be as short as an hour. People are used to that kind of turnaround. People are also used to getting an instant credit card verification on the phone or online to get approved for a credit card today. You know, if you can walk, talk, and chew gum at the same time, chances are you can get a credit card. But starting a business, even a side gig, is a completely different animal. You're taking something that doesn't even exist yet, and you're having to prove how it can make money, how it can pay its bills, how it can pay your bills, and pay a return to the lender. That's a pretty tall order. Good rule of thumb, if you need to borrow money, give yourself 60 to 90 days as a starting point. It can take much longer, but there are alternative lenders out there. Another good rule of thumb is that banks don't lend to startups. So if this is something that you've been doing for a while and you actually have customers, if you have a track record, chances are you can get some money from a bank. But if this is brand new, if you're less than 2 years into this, banks are typically not interested in what you have to sell. So take a look at alternative lenders. All across the country, there are these wonderful organizations called CDFIs. It stands for Community Development finance institutions. And community development finance institutions, there are thousands of these all across the country, but they're pretty well hidden. They are designed to provide access to capital when you can't get money through a traditional source. Now, there are some CDFIs that only do home loans or home improvement loans or consumer loans, but many of them, in fact, most, if you're in North Carolina, we have 2 or 3 here that do exclusively commercial loans. One is called the Support Center. It's out of Raleigh, North Carolina, and another is the North Carolina Center for Self-Help. And there's several others actually, but those are the 2 big ones that are statewide, and in other states they're similar organizations. They exist to fill in the gap between having to use an expensive credit card and being able to get bank financing. The best advice I can give you is wherever you are, go to your local university, local community college, or local chamber of commerce and ask to speak to someone in their small business development center. Their Small Business Development Center, or SBC, Small Business Center, has a lot of local knowledge, and they can point you in the right direction toward lenders who are very friendly to small businesses, especially part-time businesses. Now, what you might find is that if you walk in and need to borrow $25,000 or less to get this side gig off the ground, the bank will hand you a credit card application. I'm not going to poo-poo this idea because I've done it, but I will caution you that it's a pretty expensive way to start a business. You have to be very cautious and very disciplined if you're going to go that route. My advice is line all of your financing up, even if you have to borrow from friends and family. Line all of that financing up before you dive headfirst into your business. Can you sell some stuff? Boy, I was just looking at my garage the other day, all the things that I bought at Lowe's, Home Depot, etc., to use one time. You probably have some of these things around too that you needed desperately at the moment. And after the one time you needed it, you've never touched it again. Have a yard sale. Let's get creative. Let's get rid of some things. If you have some lazy teenagers, you might be able to sell them to science. I tried it, but I didn't have much luck. The warranty had already run out. So there are better ways to do this. You can also look to organic growth. The most successful side gig businesses that I've worked with are folks who just went out and got a customer. They sold something. They provided a service. Whatever that service was, they took that money, turned it around, and used it to create another customer. Organic growth is great because it forces you to be very creative. It forces you to be disciplined. And it forces you to focus on the business and not on the money, which I think is the right place to put your focus, quite frankly. So if there's a way that you can just get started, the side bonus of organic growth is that when you do go to the bank loves seeing businesses that have customers. They love it when you can walk in and say, hey, we already have customers. We have orders that are going unfulfilled, and we need to be able to service these customers. Now, the hot topic these days is crowdfunding, whether it's Kickstarter or Indiegogo or GoFundMe or one of 1,000 other platforms. Just keep in mind that crowdfunding is not the same as free money. In fact, the IRS is getting ready to weigh in pretty heavily on crowdfunding, where that money comes from, what it's used for, and how it is taxed. Companies that are successful in crowdfunding use a quid pro quo approach. I don't just want your money. I want to give you something in exchange for the money. I funded my first crowdfunding campaign several months ago. I think in December. I saw this college student out west who had a great new calendar design. I use Google Calendar. I love the online stuff, but I still like to write things down. I'm old-fashioned. And she had this wonderful calendar that was downloadable and it was customizable and it had everything I was looking for. I thought, boy, this is great. She's done a great job with this. So I'm gonna give her a little bit of money. And when I did that, I got access to this year's calendar. With the money that I was able to provide, along with other funders, she was able to have these things mass produced and commercially printed so that you can now go and buy one of her calendars instead of having to print out all of those pages. Fortunately, I have a workhorse printer copier, so it didn't strain our systems too much to be able to print that out. But she was able to give us a little something for that money, and that's great. But keep in mind that the bigger your project and the more expensive it is, the thing that you sell, the more people are going to want. And if you're selling, if you're setting up a crowdfunding campaign for a bicycle that's going to cost $1,200, you can't very well give away a $1,200 bicycle to everybody who gives you $50. You've got to have something else. So you're going to have to set limits. What's the minimum amount you'll accept, and what do people get for that? Some people will just give you money because they think you have a really cool idea. Most people won't. Look into all of the crowdfunding sources that you're interested in and make sure you look closely at their terms of service. There have been a lot of really good ideas that have been scuttled by the crowdfunding platforms because of violations in terms of service. So that is an option, but the more complex you make your options, the more strings there are attached, the more expensive it gets, the longer it takes. My favorite on this entire list is sell some stuff and grow organically. Start with the least amount of money you can start with and grow it steadily. Your business is going to thank you for it, and you'll have fewer headaches in the future. Whatever time you're able to carve out of your schedule, whether it's after the kids get into bed or before dinner or at 4 o'clock in the morning when you get up and there's no one else in the house awake. I'm not a morning person, but I do enjoy getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning because that is the time that I own. The phone hasn't started ringing, the emails haven't started coming in, and no one else is demanding my time. So if you're a morning person, I highly recommend starting your side gig in the morning, or at least doing the planning in the morning. If you're not a morning person, consider forcing yourself to get up and do that. I've found that starting a small business, especially a side gig, is a lot like exercising. Our willpower diminishes as the day goes on. We start out with a full tank of willpower in the morning. By lunchtime, that willpower tank is about half full, and at the end of the day, well, if it comes down to eating cheese curls or going for a run, I know which one I will prefer. At the end of the day, our willpower tank is empty, and no matter how much you want to sit and work on your business, you're going to think of 1,007 ways to avoid it. The excuses will be plentiful and your energy will be zero. So whatever time it is that you feel the most energetic, whatever time it is that you are the least interrupted or the least likely to be interrupted, put that time on your calendar. To-do lists are great. I keep a master to-do list, but every day I pull 3 or 4 things off of that master to-do list and put them on my daily to-do list, because a master to-do list becomes this huge monster that rises up and gobbles you up. So keep your to-do list short, but most of all, put it on the calendar. Funny thing, when we put things on the calendar, we treat it like an appointment, and it gets done. We're great at keeping appointments with the doctor, the dentist, or children's teachers. Everyone else but us. Put that time on your calendar for you. Make sure you talk to your family about this. They may think that you are totally off your rocker wanting to start a business. Your family may want to demand more of your time. They They may need more of your time than you're able to give if you pursue this side gig. So make sure your family's on board. Make sure they're supportive of what you're doing, but also make sure your family knows that the time you have set aside to work on your side gig is your time, and you're going to hold that sacred. You're going to put the do not disturb card on the guest bedroom door, or keep people out of the dining room or the basement or wherever it is that you're working. Make sure that you hold that space sacred. Otherwise, the excuses will creep in, and they'll usually creep in the form of other people, phone calls, television shows. Laughter from another room is a distractor. Put your headphones on. Oh, and here's a great little secret I learned. I've tried it. It works great. I love to listen to music when I work. So I put the headphones on. It shuts out the rest of the world. The problem is I'm a terrible singer, so obviously I love to sing. And as I sing, I lose focus on what I'm doing. I'm trying to think of, what are the words right there? I've known this song for 30 years and I still can't remember the words. So there are all kinds of things to distract us. Someone once told me that if you go to Pandora or Spotify or another music service like that, and you listen to video game music, it's better than listening to music you know. Here's why. Video game music is designed to keep you pumped up, to keep you energetic, to keep you focused. And even if there are words, they're usually meaningless jabber. So it's a great way to drown out the world, stay on task, and keep your blood pumping with the headphones on. Small chunks of time are best. By the end of the day especially, if you can work in a 15 or 20 minute chunk of time, get up and do something else and then come back to it, you're going to be much better off than if you say, I'm going to work from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. I'll tell you how that's going to go, folks. It's not going to go well. Take your time in small chunks. I'm a Big Bang Theory fan. I like Seinfeld. I like Andy Griffith and a couple of other shows. And the great thing about having cable TV or satellite is that you can find those any time of the day. So as I'm working, I chunk my time, and then I go watch something to take my mind off of it completely. But you do have to remove yourself. You have to take yourself to another space, to another room, to another part of the house. You have to close yourself off so that those temptations don't creep in. Create space. Hey, put a sign on the door. This is a place for mom's side gig only. This is a place for dad's side gig only. Make sure that as you get that family buy-in, that people know where you are working and they know the ground rules. Most of all, though, be consistent. Be consistent. I've still got about 20 more pounds to go before I get back down to cruising weight, but I try to do 3 miles a day. Now, if I'm consistent and get up in the morning and do my 3 miles a day, it works like a charm. But the day I decide that it's raining and I don't want to get out and do 3 miles, maybe I'm tired, I had a bad night's sleep, that starts a chain reaction that keeps me from wanting to do it the next day and the next day. As long as you're consistent, consistency builds consistency. And keep in mind, my friend who wrote the book, in 30 minutes a day over a year's time. Consistency is your friend. But there are going to be times when you are overwhelmed, even in a side gig. I'm a big believer that you can do anything, but you can't do everything. There comes a time when even the best, most energetic business owner needs help. And for that, we outsource. Here are some platforms that I have used with great success and that I love. So let me tell you a little bit about Elance. Elance is one of my favorite websites. It's like a dating site for businesses. It matches your needs to the skills that people have wherever they are in the world. They can be in Mumbai, India. They can be just down the street from you. They can be halfway across the country. But if you're not good at designing websites, you don't have to become a web designer to have a nice website. If you're not good at accounting, you don't have to go to school to become an accountant to have a profitable business. You can find someone on Elance to do what you need. Here's how I got involved with Elance. I had known about Elance for several years, but had never used it. I had a camera, and a friend knew that I had this camera. And so she said, Russ, would you video my daughter's wedding? We don't have a huge budget, and we'd love some help on this. And so I decided I would video the wedding and give them the video as a gift. So I went to the rehearsal. I set up all the cameras. I had all the angles. I videoed the wedding the next day, videoed the reception. I got home. I had over 6 hours of raw video. And I thought, what in the world am I going to do with this? I've really dug a big hole because I can shoot video all day long, but I can't edit video. Number one, I'm not good at it. Number two, I don't have time to do it. And three, I hate it. I hate it. So, go back to those two circles earlier in the presentation, and you'll see that there was no overlap there. So I got to Elance and I said, I need a video editor. I put in my specifications, I put in my budget, and I started getting responses from people all over the world who were willing to do this video editing. It was very simple. I needed a 30-minute video with a simple intro and an outro, nothing fancy, and I needed it delivered within a week. I had a guy in Bolivia do this for me in 3 days under my budget, and he made me look like Steven Spielberg. So the talent is out there, and it's plentiful. What I love about Elance is that you put the money in escrow. Elance hangs on to it until your work is delivered and you're satisfied with it. When you say, I'm satisfied with it, the provider gets their money. Oh, did I mention that Elance could be a great side gig for you? Yes. If you're a web designer, a copywriter, an editor, or 1,000 other skills, check out Elance and think about providing your skills through that platform. You might find that you have a worldwide base of customers just waiting for you. And if you plan your time accordingly, you can be fairly productive. You can find just enough work to keep you happy. In fact, they do about $17 billion a year gets run through the Elance system. It's very secure, and I've been very happy with it ever since that first time I used it. Another service that I have come to love, I got some good recommendations on this before I started using it. It's taskseveryday.com. Taskseveryday.com has Mumbai, India-based virtual assistants. They have a New York office who will contact you, discuss your needs, and put a package together that fits you. I currently employ someone 20 hours a week, and this person handles all of my web design, updates, blog posts, video editing, video posts, any kind of technical issues I have, you name it. And she's fantastic. We've worked together since day one. If you're not happy with the person they assign to you, or if it's not a good fit, they will reassign someone to you. They'll make a change for you, and very well worth the money. Fiverr.com is a platform where people are willing to do things for $5. And if you want someone to design a logo or a slogan or a jingle, or just hold a sign with your company name on it wearing a banana suit, that's right. There are people out there who will hold your sign wearing a banana suit and take a picture of it for $5. Now, if this is going to catapult your business to worldwide domination, go for it. You can find somebody who'll do that on Fiverr. We've used Fiverr for t-shirt designs, for logo designs, for very simple graphic designs, and I even used it for designing an invitation for my parents' 50th wedding anniversary. And now they think I spent a whole lot of money, so please don't tell. If you need something done around the house, there are services like Angie's List and TaskRabbit. Not all outsourcing needs to be business related. Maybe the best thing you can do for your side gig is to outsource the laundry, the lawn mowing, the gutter cleaning, the vacuuming, and the dusting. Find someone who can take that work off your shoulders so that you can make more money. Go back to the budget that we looked at earlier. Look at your personal budget. What would it cost you to have somebody come and mow your grass? My nephew mows my lawn for me. I pay him $20 a week to mow my grass. He's 17. He doesn't do it as well as I do it. He doesn't take care the way I would to pull every weed. But it gets done. It gets done, and I don't have to worry about it. And in the time it would take me, I could be making a lot more than $20. So don't be a nickel holding up a dollar in your own business. Let someone else take those household tasks off of your plate and get those done. Now, there are also a couple of platforms that I like that are growing. They're getting better every day, and I highly recommend them. One is an app for your smartphone, and it's pretty ubiquitous. You can get it for your Android phone, for your iPhone, for your Windows phone. It's called IF. Now, it used to be called IFTTT, so it may still be listed in your app store as IFTTT. It stands for If This, Then That. You set up what are called recipes in the application. You can do this online. It's much easier just to do it on your computer and then let it handle everything on your phone. But let's say, for example, you post a picture to your Facebook site. It will also post that same photo to Twitter. If you schedule something with someone on Facebook or an email, it will also post that immediately to your online calendar. Recipes are sequences of events that if one thing happens, you can make another thing happen. Every night at 9 p.m., my phone dings and I get the weather report for the next day. So I don't have to stay up and watch the news to see what the weather's going to be. I also don't have to click through the 1,100 apps on my phone to find my weather app because I'm an app junkie. What can I say? Another that I'm really starting to like is Siri. I have actually dictated some blog posts into Siri. The funny thing about Siri is you never know if Siri is going to be able to do it for you unless you ask. So click that button on your iPhone. I know that you may have Katana or some other platform on your smartphone. You can use that as a dictation device so that you can dictate memos, emails, blog posts, whatever it might be. Before you do all this, take one piece of paper, draw 2 lines down that piece of paper, create 3 columns. And on the first column, the column header is going to be things I hate to do. Things I hate to do. In the second column, it's things I can do but shouldn't. Things I can do but shouldn't. And the last column is very, very precisely worded. Things only I can do. Things only I can do. That's the column you want to be working on because those are the things that no one else can do. Those are the things you're not going to trust anyone else with. And you need to make sure you focus on letting those other things in the first 2 columns go to someone else. So if you didn't catch that, it's okay. Let me repeat those. The first column, things I hate to do. Second column, things I can do but shouldn't. Third column, things only I can do. By the way, this webinar is being recorded and it will be available tomorrow on my website. So if you want to go back and look at anything at a later time, you can do that. And all you have to do is click on it. There's no charge to get back to it. Most important in all this is staying out of trouble with the boss. Number 1, if your company has a policy against starting a side business or generating a side income or even having a job outside your primary job, do not violate that policy. Depending on the type of job you have, you may be on call. Your company may, in fact, have a claim on your life outside of working hours. So do not violate any policy that's going to get you fired, even if you think you can get away with it. Don't use company time and don't use company assets. As tempted as you are going to be to send an email to a client or to just look at this video because I think it might be relevant, don't do it. Don't do it. If you spend some time online and you're tempted to spend any of that time on your own business, I highly recommend that you download a browser add-on or an extension called Pocket, P-O-C-K-E-T. Pocket is a great way to store articles and online sites so that you can pull them up on your phone, your tablet, or your computer at home later and read them. You can even read these things offline. But it's going to keep you from spending time on company resources that you don't need. By all means, don't steal company customers. You may think that you can do this better and you can take care of these customers better than your company. If that's the case, don't start a side gig. Quit and start a business. If you quit and start your business, then in some cases, it's perfectly okay for you to take those customers. In some cases, it's not. But if you're going to take company customers, you make sure you don't work for that company any longer. If you feel comfortable talking with your boss about your side gig, sometimes that is a really good way to get going, is just to get everything out in the open, be transparent. One of the ways that I've seen people have success with this is to let the boss know that whatever you learn from the side gig and whatever benefits you can bring, you're going to bring back to work. That makes you more valuable as an employee. So if there's a way that you can add value to your job because of the side gig, go for it. I think that's an extremely good way to open the door. Don't forget which income pays the rent. If you depend on the day job to put groceries on the table, pay the mortgage, put kids through school, put clothes on their backs, do not jeopardize that for this little bit of side income that you have. You can always work toward the goal of making your side gig your main gig, but don't jeopardize it. In fact, appreciate the safety net that you have. One of the things I noticed when I left the corporate world and started my own business years ago was it was really nice to have someone pay my insurance. It was really nice to have paid vacation days. Funny little thing about starting your own business is if you don't work, you don't eat. Of course, the internet has changed that. Sometimes we can sleep and still earn a good amount of money. That's the beauty of having an online-based business. That's a topic for another day. But show some appreciation for that safety net that you have. I mean, if you're keeping your day job because you need it, then there's a built-in level of appreciation there. If you keep your day job because you love it, then this is not going to be an issue for you. There are multiple reasons why people start a side gig. I love my day job. You may love yours. You may already have a date on the calendar when you're going to get out. And so let's talk about planning your escape. Start by tracking your finances. This is more than just throwing your receipts in a shoebox. Track your financial progress so that you know how close you're getting to your goal. If you don't have some sort of visual indicator on how close you're getting to that goal, you'll never know when it's time for you to leave. Your job can be a motivator in a couple of different ways. Your job can motivate you to improve, to stay on and enjoy that safety net and grow your business organically. It can also motivate you to leave quickly. And if that's the case, go ahead and put that last day on the calendar. Again, things that end up on our calendar tend to get done. And if you've got a vacation day coming up, you put that on your calendar. You look forward to that and you prepare for it. If you know that there is an escape date where you're going to hit the eject button on your job and finally turn in that notice, put that date on the calendar. In fact, I would go so far as to say it's not a bad idea to go ahead and write your resignation letter. Write that resignation letter, just don't send it. And if you send it, hey, I'm telling you, don't send it. Write that resignation letter. Look at it every now and then, maybe once a month. Check out that resignation letter. Make sure it still resonates with you and will resonate when it's time to turn that thing in. Do you tell your boss you have a job? Some companies will take that as a threat. That you've started something on the side. They will take it as a threat that you're not making enough money, you're not happy, you might be leaving. They might take it as a threat that you are going to steal their customers or that you're just going to disappear one day and never come back. Some companies appreciate it. And in fact, if you work for a state organization or state agency, it may be required that you disclose your side gig. There have been some court cases in the last decade or so that have made it necessary for publicly funded agencies to have employees disclose side gigs to avoid double dipping. You don't want to be a police officer by day and also be making money training police officers under a contract by night. That can really mess things up for your future. Again, take the total value of your employment into consideration. If you have benefits, appreciate those benefits and look at them in a mathematical way. The amount of money you make, the amount of money you bring home, multiply that by about 1.5. That gives you the true value of your employment. Some, it may be a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, but that's okay. If you, and I would advise anybody looking to just change jobs to do this. Don't just look at leaving your present job for a job that's going to pay you more. Look at the total value of your employment and see where you're going to come out ahead. By all means, do not surprise your family. Make sure you keep your family in the loop. I, for one, am a risk taker. My wife, however, is very risk averse. She is very conservative when it comes to money, does not like to take risks. I jump off of buildings. I jump out of airplane. I don't care. If I've got something to slow me down, I'll jump. My wife does not see a need to jump out of a perfectly functioning airplane. In fact, she doesn't see a need to get into a perfectly functioning airplane when you can drive. So she's very conservative. If I ever came home and said, I'm leaving this, I'm going to make this leap, without giving her a heads up, I think she would go into a vegetative state. So be very careful that you build your family up. Most families crave security. And if you are bringing home the income or the primary income for your family, or for a majority of the income, I would say, and that's the case for most of us these days, keep your family in the loop, let them know what's going on, and let them be a part of the decision to hit the eject button on that day job. So our hour's almost up. I'm going to leave you with this. I've got some contact information here. These are ways to contact me. Stay in touch with me, and be sure to go to the left, download the business plan template, but also you can find that template on my website under the free stuff section. Under russellsiegel.com, you can find access to a free monthly newsletter. Comes out the first Monday of each month. It has some good stuff in there to help you run your business. You can also visit the blog and sign up to receive blog posts via email so that you never have to go back to my site. Isn't that refreshing? I'm inviting you to come to my site so you never have to come back again. I'll send you all the stuff you need. I also have some stuff that's worth buying. This is not stuff that I'm selling, but these are affiliate sites that I have used and trust and would only recommend if I had used them and trust them. Things like Elance, for example. Hotels.com. These are companies that I know, trust, and feel very confident in recommending. I am going to now stop the recording, but if at any point in the future you want to come back and check out this webinar, you feel free to do that. Just go to my website and go to the online training tab. and you'll find it there. I keep these things up perpetually, and you should find it as long as you need it. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar, but I will stay on here for a few minutes. And if there's anyone who needs to ask any questions, just because of ambient noise, we have muted everyone's microphones, but I will take messages. If you go to the left and just type in your messages, I'll try to answer questions there. And I'll stay on for a few minutes to see if anyone has questions. If not, I look forward to seeing you on social media or at my website, and I really appreciate you spending this time with me this afternoon.